right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. The KO Pro Show just wrapped up in Egypt, and I've got the results for you guys for men's open bodybuilding. Regan Grimes getting his redemption here from the Olympia, from his second place finish at the Legion Sports Festival. He was 15th at the Olympia. He's improved from show to show. I think this, from what I've seen, he looked better here to me than he looked at the Legion show. So from 15th to 2nd to 1st, I would say that working with his new coach, Milo Sarshev, is really working out pretty well for him. It seems like some rapid improvements that he's making in a very short amount of time. And not only is it noticeable, physically just looking at him, but clearly the placings are reflecting that. So in second place, you had Hadi Choopan, who actually beat Regan at the Olympia. So that's another proof positive that Regan is improving from how he looked at the Olympia. I think Choopan was 10th at the Olympia, actually, like 5 placings ahead of Regan. So Regan was able to pass him up. And then at the last show, in the Legion show, he was able to pass up Patrick Moore, who placed ahead of him at the Olympia. Samson Dauda takes 3rd place here. 4th place, you had Mohammed El Imam. And in 5th place, you had Mo Fuda. And I want to show you guys a video of Mo Fuda here, because this is a guy that really, really impressed me. If you look at his individual routine, to me, he kind of resembled Hadi Choopan a little bit. Really good conditioning, tons of muscle packed onto his frame. A little bit of a shorter guy, but he's got, like I said, a ton of muscle on his frame, and he looks very complete. And I think, honestly, you could have made him an argument for him placing a little bit higher in this lineup, but his nickname is the next big thing, so maybe we are going to see big things from him in the future. This is definitely a guy that I've got my eye on now. After seeing him in this lineup, I was really impressed by how he looked. Really, really impressed. But back to Regan for a second, because honestly, he's another guy I'm really impressed by. Like I said, the improvements that he's been able to make have been phenomenal. And I really think, I've been saying this ever since the Olympia, even though he took 15th place, this is a guy that he's still got a ton of potential. I said that 15th place at the Olympia is not a deal breaker for him. That's not the end of the road. That's not the end of his career. He can still get better, and he's proving very rapidly, mind you, that that's true. He is getting better. He still does have a ton of potential, and he's rapidly improving. Sometimes it's all it takes is just to get a new coach and switch things up, and you can finally find that perfect formula, and I think that's kind of what Regan has done here. To me, he looks fuller and sharper than he looked at the Olympia, which I think is a really big point in his favor, because in the past, he had been dinged for maybe not being big enough in men's open bodybuilding. So when he comes in flat, it really doesn't work to his advantage. But when he comes in full and sharp like he's been coming in these past 2 shows, Legion and this Egypt show, this is a much better version of Regan. And the upside here is that now he's qualified for next year's Olympia very early on. He's got plenty of time now to prepare and figure out what he needs to do for next year to really work with Milos and figure it out. If he wants to put on size, he can put on size during that time, take a pretty extended offseason, because now he knows he's got that qualification. He doesn't have anything to worry about for the next year until December in Vegas at the Olympia. And I think that works to his advantage. If he puts on some size with Milos and he's able to come back in 2022 with a similar package of what we just saw at these back-to-back shows, but he's bigger in 2022, I think he could be very dangerous. So another name added to the 2022 Olympia lineup. Now, also in the news, Classic Physique, the Classic Physique category at this KO Pro Show, Jose Maria Mete ended up winning this show. He was better known as Made El Man on Instagram. And it was pretty impressive that he won this show, considering the fact that you also had Peter Molnar in this lineup, who wound up taking 3rd. And Peter had just won the Kentucky Muscle. He's already qualified for 2022. So it was a pretty big feather in his cap that Jose was able to beat Peter Molnar here. And Jose Maria Mete is a guy that I've been a fan of for a really long time. I think he's got a great physique, very well suited for the classic division. So congratulations to him for earning his spot at the 2022 Classic Physique Olympia. Now, also in the news at this KO Pro Show, Big Ramy actually did a guest posing there. Now, the KO squad is one of Big Ramy's major sponsors, so it's really no surprise that he was there. He was handing out awards, but I was surprised he did a guest posing. He looked really impressive there, and I want to thank Hassan Gaber, a.k.a. HGABR on Instagram, for sending me these videos of Ramy at the guest posing here. And one of the things that we know, and we've been talking about over the past week or so, is the fact that Chad Nichols and Dennis James have said that Ramy is going to be training nonstop all the way from now through the Olympia, and that his prep for 2022 begins now, unlike last year. So these early updates of how Ramy is looking post-Olympia 2021, at least gives us some kind of indicator of a benchmark of where he's starting at this point in his prep. Because like I said, we kind of learned from his coach, Chad Nichols, that last year he only was able to prep from July to October. So from December of the 2020 Olympia through July of 2021, apparently Ramy wasn't training at all. So that's the major difference that we're looking at here. So this is kind of the starting point for Ramy, looking to improve upon how he looked at the 2021 Olympia. And I'm kind of interested to see what the difference is going to be between next year's package and this year's package, if the training difference really is that significant. I mean, we're talking about, what, like 7 months of no training at all compared to training year-round for this next Olympia. That should be a pretty big difference in preps. So I like that we are seeing more updates of Big Ramy like this guest posing, like that video the other day of him posing in the gym. Because if you think about after he won last year's Olympia, we really didn't see much from him at all. We didn't see much of his physique. We didn't see much of his training. And now, in retrospect, that kind of makes sense. If he really wasn't training and he was, kind of off everything or whatever the case was, then it's really not a surprise that we weren't seeing his physique, or we weren't seeing guest posings, or we weren't seeing training videos, because he wasn't training. He wasn't doing anything. So I guess that makes sense in retrospect why we didn't really hear from him after his 2020 Olympia victory. So next up in the news, you also had this massive expo this weekend, the Dubai Muscle Show. And one of the highlights from this weekend, of course, we talked about yesterday, Flex Lewis out-angling Big Ramy. But today, at that same expo, Flex Lewis catches up with Hadi Choopan. I thought this was really cool, and it's something that I really enjoyed watching this video, seeing them kind of embrace, break bread, and show some really good sportsmanship here. Because if you guys remember, when these guys competed in 212, they had a pretty fierce rivalry between the two of them. And if you guys go back to that, I think it was 2017 Asia Grand Prix, where they competed at that show, a lot of people felt that Hadi Choopan should have won. It was one of Flex Lewis's more controversial victories. But Flex beat him. Flex won. And that was kind of a really hot point of contention in their rivalry, was that Asia Grand Prix. So it's kind of cool to see them now, so humble and so cool and so embracing of each other. And when you also consider the fact that Flex is planning on coming to the Olympia and Men's Open, we're going to kind of get to see that rematch outside of 212 as open bodybuilders, hopefully, assuming that Flex is actually going to do it, because for the past 2 years, circumstance has kept him from doing it. But I would love to see Flex Lewis versus Hadi Choopan round 2, but in the setting of a Men's Open Olympia. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this in the comment section below. Of these two guys, who do you think is going to place higher at the 2022 Mr. Olympia? Do you think Flex Lewis, or do you think Hadi Choopan will have the better placing in the Men's Open Olympia lineup? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please give the video a thumbs up if you did, in fact, enjoy it. It helps out a lot. If you like the video, it gets it out there in the algorithm a lot better. So give it a thumbs up. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.